Welcome back, guys, to Steven's DIY Auto Repair.
All right, guys, and we are back. And we're in this 2015 Dodge Durango Limited all-wheel drive. So we've been getting a check engine light. We scanned the code, and I can't remember the code off the top of my head, but we'll put it up here for you guys so you guys can check it out. But basically, it's a bank 2, sensor 2, circuit low circuit. It was intermittent for a while, and now it's coming on constantly. So we're going to go ahead and take care of it. We're going to go ahead and just swap it out. Pretty sure it's the O2 sensor. There is a way of checking it, obviously. But it's the hardest one to get to, of course. So we're going to have to take a few things apart. We'll bring you guys along for the ride. The O2 sensor itself is fairly cheap, so we went ahead and just purchased it. This vehicle, although it's not so old, it's got a lot of miles on it. It's almost got 200,000 miles on it, so things are bound to wear out and break. So we're going to go ahead and go underneath. I attempted to, you can get to the O2 sensor. However, if you've got big arms, big hands, you're not going to be able to get to the connector. Instead of trying to fight around it, we're just going to go ahead. Per manufacturer specifications, you're supposed to remove the transmission brace, and then you're supposed to remove the front wheel drive. If it's an all-wheel drive, the front wheel drive axle. Once you do that, then you have a lot more room to work with. So we can touch the O2 sensor, but the connector is farther back between the transmission and the vehicle body. So we'll take you guys along for the ride. So let's get to it. Okay, so here is our bracket. It's our transmission bracket we're gonna have to take off. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so your two nuts in the middle are going to be 15 millimeter, and then everything else is going to be a 16 millimeter. So once you get those off, you still do have 3 on the left, and you got 3 on the right. So we're going to go ahead and take those out. It's important to note to put a jack or jack stand underneath your transmission to help hold it up, because you are taking off the cross bracket that's holding it in. So FYI. So we're going to go ahead and get this pulled off, and then we're bringing it to the next step. Okay guys, so now that we got our bracket off, now it's time to take off our axle here. So that we can get to our O2 sensor there. And then if you see, if this is a focus, it's not gonna focus. Let's see. But the wire goes up and over, and we can't get our chubby hands through this small opening. So we have to take this off. So let's get to it. So you're gonna have to come in right here, and that's pretty much all the little bit of room you're gonna get. So we're gonna go ahead and take these off, and we'll bring you guys right back. And if you notice, get this out, it's gonna be an 8. Is it a T8? So we're gonna go ahead and take these off, and then we'll bring it right back. All right guys, so now that we got our axle out, we have a lot more room in order to access our O2 sensor. And cool thing, in the middle of all this, we knew we had some type of leak, transmission leak, and we actually found our source. It's our transmission line right there on the bottom. So we're going to take care of that while we are under here. All right, guys, after some fighting and cutting our hands up really well, we finally got it disconnected. You're just going to have to go off feel. You got to reach your hand all the way up on top of the transmission. I don't know what genius thought that was a fantastic idea. Freaking stupid if you ask me. So now we're going to go ahead and take out our O2 sensor. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so I apologize for the noise, but we got our oxygen sensor cracked loose. So we're going to go ahead and remove it, and then we'll show you our new one that we're going to install. So let's go ahead and remove this and I'll show you the new one. Alright guys, so here is our old sensor. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. And then here is our new one. It's a NTK. This is the OEM that comes on it. Part number 23161. Go ahead and take it out. O2 sensor. It's got some instructions, and so we're going to take it out, compare it to the new one, and put it in. So let's get to it. So we went ahead and compared them. They have all the same color wires. One thing I wanted to note was the original says NTK, assembled in USA. So it's the OEM that goes on it, so we're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and install this and get this all put back together. All right guys, so we got our O2 sensor back in. You're going to have to play with the connector and cut your hand up even more, but you'll get it eventually. So there you have it. Our O2 sensor is in. Now we're going to go ahead and continue putting everything back together, and we'll bring you guys right back. Alright guys, so we're going to get ready to put our drive shaft back in, and just some tips on removal. You want to leave at least one fastener on each side. That way you can break apart all fasteners. So you don't want to just take out all the fasteners on one end, because if you still have fasteners you got to break loose on the other end. It's just going to spin even with the transmission engage. So that's a note. The second note is the way we did it. We didn't have the transmission bracket here. We just have it on to help hold the transmission for now. We're probably going to have to take it off in order to put our drive shaft back in, but we'll see. But when we had this removed, we pried down the back end, so the end closer to the rear wheels. We popped that off and hung it down, and then popped it off from the front and pulled it back toward the rear wheels, and we were able to get it out. So we're going to go ahead and try to get this in with the bracket on. It's only hanging on with a couple fasteners, just so we could help hold the transmission, because this is pretty much day 2. We didn't get to finish the first day. So we're going to go ahead and try to put the drive shaft in with the bracket, which I don't think it's going to work. We're not going to have enough room, so we're going to probably just go ahead and take it off instead of trying to fight it. So we'll bring you guys right back once we get the drive shaft in. We're going to put some Loctite on the fasteners, get them hand tightened, and then you want to tighten them all in a star pattern similar to your lug nuts. And if I'm not mistaken, in our case, the torque spec is going to be 41 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right guys, so we got our drive shaft put back on and torque to spec, and I suggest use a paint marker to mark which ones that you've already torqued. In our case, we can't find our paint marker, so we just use some duct tape. Works just as good. So we're going to go ahead and just put our cross member back together, and then we are good to go. So once we get our cross member put back together, we'll bring you guys right back and see how she works. All right, guys, so we got everything torqued down to spec. Everything's put back together and torqued down to spec, and we went ahead and drove it around, did a test drive for a couple miles, and everything seems perfectly fine. So it's been several days, I think about a week now, coming back to it. We've had still no check engine light for the O2 sensor, so that's great. We got the O2 sensor swapped out and fixed. That solved our issue. We also found that we actually got a little bit better gas mileage and a few other issues with the vehicle has corrected itself because of that. It doesn't drive as sluggish as it used to. Also, with our drive axle, got that torqued down to spec. We have had no issues with that. The vehicle drives perfectly fine. So we are good to go, guys. So there is how you change out your O2 sensor on your Dodge Durango. All-wheel drive limited. Unfortunately, you having to take all that apart, it's kind of ridiculous to me. But hey, maybe there's another way that you could have done it without doing it. If you guys know that way, put it in the comment section below. But anyway, guys, there you guys have it. As always, guys, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys would like to be notified when I put out another video, make sure to hit that bell notification. And as always, guys, please subscribe to my channel for more informational videos and DIY projects. And until next time, guys, have a good one.